Hey everybody, it's your friend Dave Cameo, host of Squawking Dead. Before we show this episode, I wanted to let you guys know the pretext to it. We had attempted to go live the night before to no avail. Been having some internet issues here ever since I moved to this new place. It's been kind of a struggle, even just with the premieres of our pre-recorded content, which we regularly do. But last night when we were trying to live stream, do a nice little something for you guys, first of all, in order to catch up with the recording schedule, because AMC decided to release the first two episodes of the mid-season premiere of Fear the Walking Dead Season 7 concurrently on AMC Plus, and it required us to assemble together really quickly to do the recording, and at the end of the day, we couldn't do it. So we wanted to actually do a live stream where you guys could participate, but 3 separate times during the live stream, it actually crashed on us. We cobbled together all the live footage to provide you with an episode that was worthy of your attention. Without further ado, please enjoy this episode. If you like what we're doing, please give us a thumbs up, share this episode, and leave something in the comments. Let us know what you thought, because we're going to be our worst critic for this episode. So we could really use your help in trying to spread the word, and hopefully with your support, we can do better, do more, and hope to see you in the next one. Squawking Dead, a podcast pulverizing episodes of the Walking Dead universe. Sometimes we give you news, sometimes we make you laugh, but most times we go deep. And today we are live with you to discuss our mid-season premiere of Season 7 of Fear the Walking Dead, titled Follow Me, the 9th episode, in case you're following. Just say, hey, and I'm your host, David Cameo. And I'm joined by Cosmo Mom 09, Rachel Burt. Welcome back. And in the middle is obviously Survivors tier member Bridget, ex-Prophecy Girl on Twitter, and made my first rodeo on Instagram. Yay!
Woo, you did both! Yay!
Yeah, why not? Why the fuck not? Your followership is skyrocketing.
I got like 38 now.
Yeah, it's amazing. You'll be at 50 by the end of the week. No promises.
I'm not eating any worms though, so suck it, losers.
Yeah. So just so everyone knows that it's still April. You still got time to get any one of our accounts to 2,000 followers or subscribers on YouTube. Well, let's get at least the YouTube account to 1,000, and maybe I'll do one worm. But for every account that you get to 2,000 followers, except for YouTube, 1,000, I will eat one worm. But you have to get there. We have to get there before May. That is the challenge. So it's good to be back here. It's good to be live. We haven't done this since the Madison Clark live stream, and that was episode 177. This is 187. So maybe every 10 episodes we go live. How about that? What do you guys think about that? No, I hate this shit.
Not a fan.
Rachel's has been enjoying the fact that we've been doing pre-recorded so we could step out to the bathroom. We could do all these cool things. So, and by the way, in the chat, as you can see on the screen, is Sharon D, aka Blazy Gardner, who, we missed today, and but she has the advantage in the chat of making fun of us and making me say stupid things. Have you seen this buoy? Dwight's fajitas? So she's not feeling that well, so she figured, take a little backseat, be in the chat, and hopefully not stress her out any more than she already is. But we miss her. I guess the first thing we should say is, hey, if you like what we're doing, obviously the first thing that you can do is head over to ko-fi.com/squawkingdead right below me. The address is right below me. You can just follow us. And you'll know when we record in the future. We don't always go live. This is kind of a once in a blue moon kind of thing. But when we do record, you'll be the first to know. You don't have to buy us a coffee. You don't have to join a membership tier. If you just follow us, you're in the know. And when you feel like joining in an episode discussion, you can buy us a coffee and get 30 days of access to our supporter back content, or you can join a membership tier for as little as $1. And the party just keeps on rolling. You'll know when we record. You know when the unedited episodes drop. Other things you can do are head to our merch store. We're going to have a sale all weekend for $13 t-shirts, as well as up to 35% off everything else. That you can get to that merch store at squawkingdead.com. Hit the main menu on the top left and choose merch. There are always links in the description to ways of supporting us, and one of those is the merch store link. Third thing you can do is head over to Phineas Coffee, Phineas. The link is in the description. They are top grade coffee. We love it here at the Cameo residence. They're Coffee is top tier. We just received another brew this morning. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was very delicious. You, as a Squawking Dead fan or listener or watcher or family, can get your first order for 10% off if you either click the link in the description, or you can just type Squawking Dead, no spaces, in checkout, and off you go. Another way of supporting us.
I was gone for a minute. My grandmother passed away last week, so
Yeah.
I've had a tough couple of weeks. So good to be back with you people, and happy to talk about the next episode, I guess.
Not this one. Not this one. It's foreshadowing to come.
Yikes.
Yikes. But there's other things happening in your life as well, not just tragedies. You've been posting nonstop about finally your VFX makeup, and I love it. So if you're interested in seeing Rachel's growth as a VFX artist, I mean, she's been doing obviously costume makeup and all these different various styles of makeup. And she's been posting it at Cosmomom09. That's what we call her, that on all her social media, including Facebook. Right now, she's getting into all the gore and guts and frost and weathered skin and burns and all these, and fingernails. Ugh, the fingernails, gross. It's really gross, but you should see it to believe it. It should be rewarding.
I'm learning all the gory, gutsy stuff now, and it's a lot of fun. I've been working with like the cotton and latex forever, so I'm pretty familiar with that medium. But I don't know. There's a lot of other cool tools out there and products out there that I didn't know about, that I got to learn how to use, and it just makes my job so much easier. Basically, everything I've done is with paint and fake blood, so now I get to like learn how to make the really realistic gross stuff. Like I gave myself Huck's scar the other day. And that was really cool.
Yeah, that was really, really cool. But how does it feel, like finally getting into this? It must feel so cool.
Yeah, I finally feel comfortable. Like the first 8 months of school were just very stressful because I don't typically make people pretty. And that was what we did for the first 8 months. And I'm like, can't I just like give her a black eye with the, smoky eye? Like, no, you can't do that, Rachel. I'm like, okay. So yeah.
Like pretty while they're hurt.
Yeah.
and
I'm definitely into that. Like one side, like really beautiful and glammed up, and then the other side's just like charred black or something.
So let's talk about this episode. It's a very polarizing episode. I'm going to wager a guess, and maybe you guys can fix me along the way. But if you are an Alicia Clark fan, I think you might actually like this episode. I've seen many reactions loving the Paul character. They may like the Paul character, but may not like this episode per se. So let me get your take, Bridget, first, because we got to go sweet before we go sour.
Okay, I mentioned this, I believe, on our last episode of the podcast, is that I always try to find a silver lining in something, because I just can't. It just kills me. It just kills me to be mad about it, because I love this show, and I refuse to just say anything bad about the Walking Dead universe because I want it to keep going. Damn it. So I'll find the good.
The good out here?
Obviously, I loved Paul. Who didn't?
Some people didn't.
Only monsters.
I loved the references to Scotland and his wife being Scottish. I liked that it was Alicia focused because we had to wait the whole first half of the season to get that last time, and so now we got it right from out the gate, which is great. I mean, it cleared up and also didn't clear up stuff about Padre, so I feel a little bit better about that. And she was back with the group at the end. So I had some positive things to say. Negatively, she was very sweaty the whole episode, which was weird.
You have a thing against sweaty people? Is that what's going on?
Yeah, it's gross. It was really gross. No, it's fine. No, Daryl Dixon's my favorite character in the Walking Dead universe, so I have nothing against sweaty people.
And he smells like a sewer threw up on a dog.
I don't love the fever thing, and maybe it's just because I feel like it's just going on a really long time for me, but it hasn't. But I'm like, oh, dude, the fever already.
Come on, wrap it up with the fever shit.
And I'm like, oh, this fever thing again. But it's only been like 2 episodes, so I don't know. I don't know why I'm upset about that. Oh, and you know what?
And you know what? What
was cleared up for me that I really appreciated? And maybe I'm just really dumb, okay? And that's fair. I say stupid stuff all the time. But during the first part of 7, I thought that Alicia's arm, that she had somehow healed around the bone. And this was like some sort of weird, still attached bone thing. And I was like, that is so gross and weird. And like, why would they do that?
And it would hurt too. Like, imagine you tap that bone, you're like, ow!
I'm like, why wouldn't she cut off the bone? What the hell's wrong with her? And then,
but then you remember the stubby nub.
And then it was pulled off in this episode. I was like, oh, thank God. Thank God.
I mean,
it's not attached.
So precious.
If you rewatched Padre, though, you had all those tubes and stuff and pussy goo dripping out of the nubby nub.
I was just, I know, but in my head, I was like, oh, is it still attached? I don't know why. It's such a dumb. Like, I was like, whoa, that's weird.
That's not supposed to be there.
It's not like, possible either. So, like, what was I thinking? I was like, what, does she have fevers? Because, like, her bones, like, just hanging out of her body and she's just
obviously
waving it around. You're not okay. And you're not okay in the head either.
That's a statement.
Okay, so I'll lay off now and I'll let you guys talk about it. But I do have some like
you can leave
deeper.
now.
There's like an onion to peel away at with this.
You're saying like in general with the show, with this episode?
Yeah, I have some other stuff about this episode, but it's like it's a deeper layer. So I want to kind of get rid of the surface level stuff.
This is more of a feelings thing.
So I'm gonna start by saying I am an Alicia fan. Let's just let that simmer for
I remember.
a second. She's my girl. Like she's who I started Fear with. Like I've been watching her, but she's just been like acting crazy lately. And I don't know if I can handle it for much longer. Like get your shit together already. And also, I'm with you, Bridget. This fever bullshit has been going on way too effing long. Did no one tell Alicia that we're all fucking infected?
But Rachel,
we all have it.
But
Calm
Rachel,
down.
She's more infected than most, obviously. Think about it. Who has a fever that long and lives to tell the tale?
Alicia, apparently, because she's like doing it to herself. Because the girl never sleeps. Get some freaking sleep, and maybe your fever would come down.
But every time she sleeps, like she gets sicker, which I looked up. We'll get into that. There's something going on here.
Okay. I also thought, and I don't know if this has been brought up already, so I apologize if this is a repeated theory, but I also thought maybe we are now finally seeing the effects of the radiated walker blood that fell into her mouth.
Now you're getting
from
into it.
season five from season 5. That's my only other theory.
Shoot.
Because I don't think whatever is going on is from the walker bite.
Right, and
if
even
she was
Charity's
gonna die,
saying
she would have died from it.
Charity's even saying in the chat, like, something I was gonna say, anyone who has malaria. So that was another thing that had occurred to me. Like all the still water, all the tsetse flies, and as I've mentioned a couple of times throughout our podcasting history, animals and everything, the animal, the fire, the insect kingdom, all those, everything is acting differently than it normally would. So I can just see a variant of the tsetse fly, which is where malaria comes from. It carries the malaria disease and bites you. So any still water parasites, all variety of things could be affecting Alicia right now. That
Sure, absolutely.
Right, so-
But I do hope we see an answer to this sooner rather than later, because it's getting a little.
I feel like we might, and I feel like we'd have to.
I absolutely love Paul as well. I mean, if you didn't like Paul, what kind of monster are you? Like, he's just so sweet, and I'm the maddest that he's no longer around. I'm super pissed. I'm really, really, really pissed. I think I'm the most pissed that we don't get this character anymore.
The
I
most
love
pissed.
Paul. Yeah, like out of anything else in the episode, that like his death pissed me off the most.
Did you declare your love for him on social media? No. So you're not the most.
Oh, so it doesn't count?
Doesn't count.
If I don't post it, it doesn't count?
Right. You should have.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
I'm sorry.
I did see someone
I don't
on
make the
Twitter
rules
that's
up.
like, this is a Paul Stan account. Oh, like the second that he was on.
If you're not ready to change your username, Cosmom09, you're not the most pissed.
Well, I'm also not the most internety person.
That's true too.
I make my feelings verbal,
Right.
not digital.
Even if nobody's, well, now everybody's here to see you, so maybe
That's
they
right.
will see,
See?
that you're the most.
Listen
Paul.
to me now.
Just in terms of feelings, because this is hopefully springboard to the rest of this episode, and maybe frame it a little bit, because I'm going to repeat something that I've said over and over again about Alicia that I don't often get a chance to repeat. And I don't think I've repeated since maybe season 5, but I was never fully an Alicia fan. Meaning, it doesn't mean I dislike her. I'm going to be honest with you. I've watched since the beginning, since it first started, live every week. And her character at first annoyed me. Not more than Chris at first, obviously. Chris Manawa, who expired in season 3, 2, 3, 2, 2. Who cares?
2.
Bridget.
It was in 2.
So
Where's Rick?
where's Rick? So I was nonplussed about her character. As the characters peeled off, including Madison, there was like that's when I started focusing on her a little bit more. Close Your Eyes was a very good segue into a possible, leadership mantle. She did try to attack half the group back in the first half of season 4. So she rallied the troops to attack the new group of survivors. Let's say John Dory was trying to shoot June. She had that leadership vibe. And we're live again. Hey, everybody. Sorry, 3 times the charm, right? Where we were up to anyway is we were talking about feelings. Bridget is feeling a bit rudderless as far as this episode goes, right? I mean, you have a lot of questions, some answers, more questions, right? The summation.
I'm optimistic, damn it.
That's right. Optimistic, damn it. Rachel's kind of like, what the fuck? But okay, it's got Alicia in it, maybe. It's all right. I'm still optimistic, but
I'm here for the ride.
Yeah, exactly. Me, I'm a little bit more nuanced. I actually thought this episode was more of a masterpiece, to be honest with you. It's just like in terms of an episode unto itself, which is obviously the style that they're going for, this anthology style. Because the way they laid out this episode is the meat of this episode is Alicia going to Arno, and Arno, Alicia, we don't want to join you in this war against Strand. So that's the backdrop. So that's the arc. But why I mention this is because this episode is really kind of like what happens along the way in terms of filming, in terms of like telling a story. It does go through something that's kind of touching and beautiful, and we get a little bit deeper into Alicia, what Alicia is currently going through. Like, it's not enough that she's sick. There's something she's like really trying to work out, like an infection, right? Something that's inside her that she needs to work out. And here is another character that's also at the same time trying to work something out that he's been avoiding this whole time. And I like that they kind of figure it out together. But what I was trying to say in the previous stream, the second stream, was that I was never an Alicia fan. Not really. Like, not the way most people are. They're like, Alicia, queen, whatever. I'm like, she's kind of like, why is she a queen? IMHO, she hasn't really done anything, in my opinion. I don't think
do you watch the same show I do?
I don't think she's you guys have to understand, I don't think she sucks as a character. I just was never impressed as everybody else was. Because you guys were talking about just before we started streaming for the third time that like a lot of your biases are baked in. You saw the 100 and you walked into that.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of that going on, of course. Look, to Charity's point, she painted some trees. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Yes, if you watch the first 3 seasons, there's a little bit of Alicia trying to come into her own. But for the most part, like those 3 seasons were kind of annoying a little bit in terms of her character development. She does try to figure things out. She does try to become a person that lives in the apocalypse and try to eke something out. Fine. I'm not unimpressed by her, but I'm just like, I'm not as impressed as most people are with Alicia. Just my opinion. I've been waiting for her to do more with her character, to become kind of the thing that it's kind of the same thing that we attribute to Daryl Dixon in a way. Like sometimes we put more onto him than his character had displayed. Like until like latter seasons where like, okay, he obviously does good things. He's a great person. He does exhibit good things, but like as a character in terms of, I just don't know what he's thinking half the time. And so we're putting feelings onto him that like are either undeserved or unexhibited, let's say. But Alicia's the same way. We're watching her try to figure this out. We're trying to figure her out. And then like, we're assuming that she's a badass, and she does some really badass things in season 4. But then like Charity says, she painted some trees in season 5.
I think you need to be reminded that she was in high school at the beginning of the apocalypse. She was a child. So for me, part of her badassery was how quickly she grew up and how well she fit into the role of responsible, warrior fighter. Like she wasn't a kid anymore. She had to grow up, and she did. Right.
And so, but that's the thing. Like my thing is not, I have like high expectations. I don't have high expectations of Alicia. I don't put onto her anything that hasn't been exhibited on the television show, let's say. I do applaud her for trying to adapt, and I do applaud her for trying to figure things out. That's what actually makes me why I find her fascinating. I think she's realistic. I think everything she's been through is realistic. But like in terms of like characters I've ever, like classic characters like Rick, I can glom onto. She's just not like that for me. But this is where the hook comes around. This is why I said, wait for it, guys. Wait for it. Because this episode showed me, and this is kind of like something I thought would happen. Oh, they're going to give us an answer for why we've given her a backseat, let's say. Like we put baby in the corner for a reason. Is because you've been waiting for Alicia to come into her own as a leader, but it just hasn't manifested. This episode shows me that's what may be in store, or hey, it's smacking us across the face by the end of it. Hey, I'm going to start listening to myself. Hey, I'm a leader. And hey, I'm going to show everybody how much of a leader I am. That's another reason why I like this episode, is that it's actually working through some of the problems from prior seasons for this character. Right? Because I mean, like, as much as you loved Alicia, you didn't like Sharondy, sad, mopey Alicia. And yes, we did see that in this episode. So I'm kind of citing some of the things you've said to us on the side. But it's the show trying to work it out. Like, you can't just put on a switch and say, hey, she's a leader now. No, you have to answer for the last several seasons what's been going on with her character. You can't just turn that shit on and expect her to... And, like, not only did they work it through, like, they incorporated the fact that, like, she tried to lead, but she didn't really believe in herself. She believed in this idea. She just assumed she had the message, and then she got some Padre message and all that stuff.
So first, let me ask a question.
Sure.
So she keeps talking about, I got to get back to my people. I got to get back to my people. Are the people that Arno shows up with the people she's trying to get back to, or is she trying to get back to living people? Who is she talking about?
I think she's talking about the sub, because she needs to tell everybody that Arno's not on board.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes me feel a little bit better, because she also goes on to tell Paul, basically, like, stay away from me. Like, everyone who gets near me dies, da-da-da-da-da. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. Paul, run for your life. Get away from her.
And
I love her to death, but I also love Carol, but I'm not hanging out with her in the woods. So... Yeah.
Well, that's exactly why you need an episode like this, isn't it? Because, like, she's not wrong. And at the same time, right? Just like Carol.
She's not wrong.
Right. So you can only imagine how she feels. She's tortured by this. I mean, you see this in Carol in season 10. Like,
yeah.
I'm like a cancer. Please avoid me. After us screaming at her for the most of season 10, we're like, she's like, oh, she finally heard us. Oh, shit. She's like feeling shitty about herself. And then Lydia taking her and putting her, it's like, it's okay. It's all right. I appreciate you for who you are. Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah. Well, and that's not even the first time we see Carol feeling shitty. But
yeah.
I don't know. Like, okay. And I want to say this too, because as much as I love Alicia, I don't know that I would choose her as a leader, to be honest.
That's what I mean. And that's part of the expectations I was attributing, that most people attributed to her. Oh, Alicia's a leader. She's the queen. Blah, blah. Thank you. That's exactly what I mean. Because we're attributing something to her that isn't earned, that she hasn't earned.
Because she's a main character, she should be a leader.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Look back, I disagree, because I think if you look back at season 3,
please disagree.
Alicia,
I want to hear more.
When they're on the ranch, I think I see some really strong leadership qualities in her then, where she wants to play the middle ground, and it's like Madison wants to take it too far to one side, and Otto's taking it too far to the other side, and like. She's walking more of the middle,
right?
Where I think she really, especially after Otto's family is then gone, and Madison's off on that run, and then she has to get all the people like to safety while the herd is coming and stuff. I think she showed some really strong leadership qualities there, especially in that bunker when she's got to make all those mercy killings. I mean, that was like, you got to think, she's how young, and there are much more qualified older people there that could have done it, and she stepped up. Right. So I think we've gotten so far away from that Alicia, like how she was then, that I think it's easy to be like, no, she's not. I think if we took a look at that Alicia, it would make sense. It would just click for her to be leader. But she's not like
even
that anymore.
Even Alicia from Close Your Eyes until now is not the same person. Even in Close Your Eyes, when she had every reason to react in an emotional manner towards Charlie, I feel like if that had happened now, she would have killed her. She was in a better spot mentally and emotionally to deal with Charlie then than she is now. Like I almost feel like we're watching Alicia unravel.
Yeah. So how I said I kind of wanted to peel the onion on this episode a little bit?
Yeah, let's jump into it.
So I agree that she has unraveled in some way. And I was trying to piece together. They say in the episode Insider, and then also you can tell just from watching it, that obviously the feeling is meant to be disoriented. Upon first watch, and even a little bit of my second watch, I kind of felt like, okay, is this a dream? Is this whole episode a dream? Right? Because the beginning of the episode, when she talks about how she got there, she runs into that little girl.
I said the same thing.
And then at the end of the episode, she runs into the little girl. It's the same exact scene. If the lighting is the same, she's running, it's the same. So I was like, did any of this happen then in between?
Yep.
Or was this all one big dream? And the story isn't even real. Paul's not real. She didn't have this interaction with Arno. Now, there is the gunshot in Arno's hand at the very end of the episode that does kind of clue you in, like, okay, something happened. Maybe it's this. Maybe it happened before and we didn't see it because there was a time jump. And maybe she, in her like fever dream, is trying to like sort everything out. So I was kind of thinking of that. And then also I noticed that Arno really is the representation of all of Alicia's mistakes, her upsets, her failures in the past, everything that she doubts in herself. He is representative of that. And Paul is representative.
Every reason that she should doubt herself.
Yes. But he is. He's just like, he is an amalgam, not amalgamation, an amalgam of all of that. And Paul is all of the hope, all of the hope, all of the love, all of the looking forward to the future and seeing that I can do this. He's all of that.
Or believing in yourself, essentially.
Yeah. So these two polar characters are there. And so that's why I was like, is this real or is this meant to be just kind of a summing up of the battle that Alicia's been going through that's been internal, that has not been given any exposition or anything. So we haven't seen any of this. We've just seen her incapable, acting crazy, and it went from like badass Alicia who could do anything, who could kill an entire herd by herself with her hands. Like we went from that to like sniveling, I can't kill any walkers, I'm painting only now, and Strand, I need you to protect me, to now this. Like I'm crazy and I'm following a walker because I believe. So like she's completely unraveled. So I was like, was this even real or was this just all just to give you exposition of the thing that's been going on?
Right. Or like maybe that's a physical representation of the infection she seems to have too, or whatever. Like, but the more you started talking, the more I was thinking, okay, she collapsed in a barn. She doesn't know she's in a barn. What if not anything, the Wizard of Oz represents? Like this is the Wizard of Oz redux, right? Because walk with me here, because now it's suddenly, I hate that you said this, because now I'm gonna go into it, because the barn falls on top of the Wicked Witch of the West, and then you meet certain travelers along the way, and Paul, like a Tin Man, or I don't know. But like the girl that she sees is in pigtails also, like Dorothy was in pigtails. Okay, here we go. Even Dorothy in her dream in the Wizard of Oz, she sees a picture of her family together, and she sees a picture of her family together in the second dream that she finally has, where she sees herself. So there's credence to that. Okay. But see, like you can say that it is real. Okay, you can say the whole thing is real, and narratively that's what you're supposed to get out of it too. Like these people are avatars of who she's supposed to represent, because I'm not comfortable saying 100% that it's completely fake, because I think that would piss people off a little bit, like, oh, but he seemed so real.
Well, I mean, it did make me happy because I really liked Paul's character.
Yeah.
But also on the other side of it, I was like, well, then Paul didn't really die, and then I don't have to feel like shit about that. So, to me,
but
it was
Paul
kind
can't
of like,
be real if it's a dream, right? Or is he like somebody she may have thought she had met sometime in her past?
Or did she see a picture of him at some point? Or is it just something her brain put together? Like, there's no telling. And I mean, I was kind of at the end of the second watch, when I saw that Arno's hand had the hole in it, I was kind of like, okay, like maybe it really did happen. But I started to kind of hang on to that. Like, I like this interpretation of this. I like if it's more this like cerebral thing instead of this actual thing that happened, where we're just repeating the same kind of story again. I can't do it. I can't do it on my own. I don't trust myself. And someone comes along and says, you can trust yourself. It's okay. Like, why do that again? Like, I just felt like, and see, now I'm getting into the negative. I'm like digging down. If I don't have this outlook, then I didn't like the episode.
This is the main critique though, right? This is the main critique that most people have. Why are we doing the I can't believe myself character development from Alicia?
And Sharon D has brought this up, I know. Sharon D, as everybody knows, Sharon D loves a strong female lead. It's her thing. She loves a strong female character, right? Someone who comes in full force, like force of nature, badass, takes everybody by storm. And Alicia is supposed to be that. So for her to continue,
but doesn't that go back to my comment though? Like, is she though? Is she supposed to be that? Because you have like only a couple places in her history where she kind of demonstrates that, and then we attribute her as a leader automatically.
Well, and then maybe that's more of an issue of like we as an audience assumed she would fill the vacuum that Madison's character left.
That's exactly it. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Sorry, I cut you off. I just feel like you said something, and I was like, wait, but what did we just say? Okay, no, and there's nothing wrong with that. Obviously, there's nothing wrong with her being that, but she has to be that. And she has to be that consistently. But that's why I like her now. I like her because it's not as simple as taking on the mantle. It's not enough to assume it. Like, she has to show it. And I like the fact that she stumbled. How many of us have this fear? I'm looking at Rachel now. How many of us have a fear that we just can't seem to get over? And I think with most people, that fear is ourselves. The thing that you want the most is hard to get. You have to work at it. And I'm afraid of failing. I'm afraid of succeeding. Some people are afraid of that too. Like, okay, what happens when I succeed? What will it mean for me? When I see Alicia, I'm like, okay, I'm glad that it's not that easy. I'm glad that it's not a switch that you can flip on. I'm glad that it's not assumed. And that's kind of like, and I'm not arguing against any of your points. I'm actually using every point that's been pointed out. As frustrating as it is, and it's frustrating. I'm frustrated, but I kind of like that I'm frustrated a little bit, because that's real to me. I identify with that so much. Now, I know what you're going to say, Rachel, that I just want my bad guys to be bad and my good guys to be good. A little bit, right? But sometimes you want it to be simple. I just want my heroes and villains. I just want them to work out. I just want things to work out. And like one of the big critiques that I have, but I also don't care about, is can we just get on with it? We have all this story. We have the nukes fell and Strand's Tower, and we know what's going to happen. It's confrontation. What's happening, guys? Can't we just start this war that was called for in the last episode? No, we have to do work on the fact that Alicia is stepping into the leader role, and now she's not ready for it. So we have to work that out first.
Yeah. What do we call this? A mid-season premiere, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I was also a little disappointed that, and again, I love Alicia. I feel like I have to say this every time, but don't come back after a break and focus on one character. Like, I was really upset not to see everybody, at least a little bit. That kind of bugged me too, even though it was Alicia, and I was like, I was excited, and then
Sharon, you're saying
like
the same exact
hit after
thing.
hit after hit.
Don't make it a mid-season premiere.
Yeah. Yes. Exactly.
But
like this should like 710 should have been the premiere, and then 709 should have been 710. Like they should have just flip-flopped those two episodes. I feel like. I mean, at least we got a little bit more. Like more
1, 2 other people.
Right.
But even that, I think that people would not have liked that either for the same reason. You get a couple more characters, but that's it. It really just focuses on the one character.
You think I was mad at this episode? Just wait till we cover 710. Oh.
Which, you know, I like that though. I like that you have this opinion, because it's the first time I've heard anybody say that 710 was worse than 709.
I just have one huge problem with it, and we'll
get there when we cover it. Yeah.
We'll get there.
I have Jasmine's take, but I'm not going to even chance it at this point. I didn't upload it to the media board. I didn't edit it. And I have a feeling that it's something stupid because it was a very small file. It's like, this episode sucked.
Haggis ain't so bad.
Oh, man, Jasmine, come on. She said some very interesting things. And I'm glad we're kind of centering this on feelings first, because that's most of what the takeaway is from this episode is. Like, how do we feel about this episode in terms of the arc? How do we feel about this episode as a stand? Actually, maybe that's a good question to ask, because I want to ask you guys, as a standalone episode, thinking nothing about the arc, was this a good episode? Was there something beautiful about them working their things out despite the technicals?
Yeah, if this was just on its own and I'm not thinking about where the story is going.
Yes.
I did. If I can forget about every other episode, if this were a movie, I probably would have enjoyed it.
That's why I grade it the way I did, because I really like as a because it is an anthology style episode.
But it's part of a season, and like every episode, this is a common gripe I have. Every episode should move your story forward, and I just don't feel like for me personally, there was not enough movement. Like you said, like just start the damn war already. She gets in Strand's face. We're going to war, but then she's like, but put your big girl pants on and go knock down the door.
Is that
Well,
any
and I
way to
think-
talk to somebody who has mental illness? I'm kidding.
I think we're gonna end
Maybe.
up getting a time jump. I think we're gonna end up getting a time jump this season.
Well,
because,
we're constantly time jumping though.
because she's leaving now to go make Padre, and that's when they're gonna go to war once she has those people. So like we're gonna have to time jump, or we are never gonna move forward with this.
Well, we've been constantly time jumping through this season. By the way, like every few weeks, it's hard to tell where we are because of how many weeks at a time. And this is all the way from season 6. We've been jumping through time, weeks at a time, months in some cases. But I would argue that this episode does move the story along. It's just not in the way people would hope. That's the problem. You want to get on with it. You want things to happen. You want things. It
wasn't a big enough move.
There wasn't a confrontation. But I think this episode needed to happen in order to get any further. To be honest with you, because again, my critique of Alicia as a character is that we needed to get some sort of. The question was hanging in the air for many seasons already. 2 seasons is too much. Of how do you get the Alicia that's taken a backseat to suddenly get back in the driver's seat? And I feel like the show's finally acknowledging the fact that yes, we are going to make her into a leader, but this episode is the first step in that process. I don't know if there's going to be more of this exposition, like of this trying to figure this out. And if there is, I'm hoping, this is my hope, because I'm going to allow it for this episode. I am, because I like that they're answering the question, that we're working it out. That a switch didn't flip automatically on when she said, "We're going to war." And I'm like, okay, well, is it happening now? Because clearly you're going through something. And I don't believe you. I don't believe you when you say we're going to war. So this is the answer to that question. That's why I say I needed this episode for a little bit of lightheartedness. I needed it for her to physically represent the shit she's trying to work out in her brain with her body also. They're like internal matches the external. And I'm going to get into some technical specifics as well. Is this thing a sickness or is it just in her brain? It's most likely a sickness. But again, what you said, Bridget, there is something about this episode that is almost ethereal. That is almost, is it real? Is it not real? But it's probably both. Go ahead.
There's some really surreal like terminology too that's used. Like I think of Paul and the instruments. And I was like, is this broken? No, it's just out of tune.
Right. Okay.
It's like such a surreal, it was such a Twin Peaks, like that's such a like David Lynch line to be like, nothing is broken, it's just out of tune. Like, but like to say it backwards. Like,
by the way, way better than David Lynch, but I get the reference and I get why you think that. Sorry. I love David Lynch and on a level, but then on a whole other level. It's exactly the reason why you wouldn't like this episode. Because David Lynch is kind of like, what's happening?
Well, it's
what is
all
going
cerebral,
on?
right? That's why, like, it's such a cerebral episode. Everything about it is so surreal, and it's all like, is it all happening in her head, or is it real? And I doubt everything that we're going through. And then there's like all these little weird moments where like Arno shows up at the front door, and Paul asks him to take off his mask, and he does, and then he like fixes his hair.
Right.
He's like,
Arno, right?
First impressions matter. Hold on. Like, better.
Arno is kind of like, and Arno is an interesting character as well too. But no, I wanted to go back to Sharon's question because with all the technical difficulties, she says, do you think it was supposed to be a reminder of damage from the inside and a reminder of what she did wrong with Dakota? I think it's a reminder of a lot of things she did wrong, and it's not her fault. That's why I like her. I like that she, in her good-hearted nature, she tried to protect Dakota. Alicia, with the information she had, she thought she was doing the right thing. Alicia, with the information she had here, with the people in Teddy's bunker, with the information she had, she thought she was doing the right thing. This is what Paul was trying to tell her. You were trying to do the right thing. Why are you beating yourself up about it? Another reason why I'm mad at Alicia. Yeah, well, you've got your personal feelings. Sharon D in the chat. Yeah. And so that's the thing. Like I'm not annoyed by that. This is, again, these are the questions that this episode at least attempts to try to square. Like, you keep trying to do the right thing, but you lack the confidence to do those things, let's say. And maybe that's the answer to the question. Or kind of like Morgan, and maybe this is why you hate Morgan, Sharon D, is that in spite of your best intentions and sometimes your worst intentions, as we see in this season, you keep fucking up. Yeah, and that is frustrating to watch. You know what I mean? And so that's why, like, you can draw some comparisons between Morgan to Alicia in this episode. And it's funny how, like, at the end of this episode, they're the ones talking to each other. But I do like that they both kind of acknowledge or respect each other's autonomy and ideas and their intelligence and their ability to lead. I mean, in spite of the fact that they both make mistakes, and I think that's authentic.
Going back to this, like these really weird, surreal lines, there's a couple little pieces I'd like to pick at. Even just the intro, waking up with the earplugs, the like really loud music, but there's like a walker walking around. That was really dream sequency to me. Paul is like, "Are you looking for your dad?" You said Padre. You sleep a lot. You know, that was like really like a dream-like line where like someone would say that to you in your dream and you'd be like,
what the fuck are you talking about? Right.
Yeah. The thing with the instruments, I thought there was a bare statement too on like just the belief that no one is ever too far gone, you know, which has been like a constant theme throughout the show. No one is ever truly lost. You can always bring someone back. You can always repair.
Like Madison.
So I thought that was kind of the fact that this is the most vivid dream I've ever had, when she's referring to her own dreams about the Senator Walker.
Right.
And then this is the one that really, I laughed out loud, honestly, when I watched this stuff. Mm-hmm. When they're in the van, Paul has now dropped the stereo. So for the second time, the stereo is broken.
Right.
And he gets in the van reluctantly. He's like, "I don't have a stereo. Like, I lost it again." And she's like, "We'll find another one." And then, you know, they're like talking, they're arguing. And then she's like, she says something like, you didn't find a stereo. Like, you know, you're saying all this stuff about how it should be positive, but you didn't find what you were looking for. And he's like, "I just found it." Like, and
he like points to it. Yeah.
Okay. She turns and whips her head so fast. And she's like, "Look, you got lucky." And I was like, what is that? Like, why were you so, like, it was so emphatic and it was so out of place for that conversation that I thought it's the way you would act in a dream. These were the things that like really got me, where, you know, things like his line about nobody ever makes great music imitating others. Like, those are things that your brain would kind of like,
that's real, by the way,
together.
This is somebody who's played music. It's so real.
Well,
Make it yours.
It is true.
Nobody likes an imitation. You don't make it anywhere by imitating. Can I touch on that though a little bit? Like the "you got lucky" part. I actually glommed onto that line for a sec because we keep talking about like, and this goes to some of the criticisms as well. Like, you could look at Paul and say, "How did this guy make it? How do you make it this long, like without hearing a thing?" But then I keep thinking back to every single character in the Walking Dead universe. The only reason why you're here is luck. The only reason. I don't care how capable you are. Like half the people in the Walking Dead universe are not capable, or they don't look capable on paper. The fact that you're here is pure luck. And there's nothing wrong with that either, by the way. It's what you do with that luck afterwards. How do you operate in the world after you've been given this chance? That is the thing I like. And then a nuclear bomb goes off. And that's the punchline, is that then a nuclear bomb goes off. It doesn't matter how ready you are or how fit you are to survive. The fact that you're here is luck. Always. Always.
Well, and that's when he loses all of his hearing. So like
he's the most
was able
unlucky.
to like kind of scrape by before that.
Yeah, and he lost everything. He lost his wife. Like, okay, you lose all your hearing. Okay, at least I have my wife. You don't have your wife even. And the last thing you hear is her screaming. And the thing that I like the most about this is he still keeps going. Despite the fact that it's in a dysfunctional way. There's no reason for him to live at all. Then when this person comes into your life and gives you the opportunity to do something, to have a function or have a purpose, like sometimes people wonder why you see somebody eke out an existence and all of a sudden something comes around. Was all of that just to make it to this moment, to help this person out? I'm not saying that that's the case, but sometimes it does happen. Like, right? Like, why does somebody have to go through so much shit? And you realize that that's the reason why, just to help this one person get through a tough moment.
My belief on that is like completely different though. I don't believe in luck. So to me, everyone is here for a purpose. Even in this.
Well, that's what I'm saying though. That's all I'm saying.
Everyone is here for there's a grand design and there is a purpose for everyone being here. And so, yeah, like, I mean, look at our own lives. Like, we all go through shit and it sucks. And we go through pain. But like, doesn't it make you a stronger, better, more empathetic person to other people? And maybe that had this little effect to something way over here that I don't even get to see the end results of.
Well, that's what kind of like goes to Rick's dream-like conversation with Sasha, right? In season 9, episode 5, I think it was, before he leaves the show. Everything that we do, everything is to push the people we love forward, you know? So, and even if you don't know that you love them yet, I suppose, like with Paul and Alicia, And like, what a way to go. Like, you don't often get the opportunity to kind of not right the wrongs, but like fix something. Like, I couldn't do anything for her, but I can do something for you. If the voice is in your head, you know, screaming, like, you get the opportunity to kind of use that voice and say, I'm going to use that voice to help this person out, because maybe I can help her reach her family and give her a better life that I couldn't give to my wife, let's say. So yeah, you're right. I'm not saying that everything is going to be like that, and I don't think life is often like that too. I don't know. Maybe I don't pay attention that often, but I don't know. I still think it's beautiful. I still think I can acknowledge and appreciate that. You talked about funny things that were said in this episode. What is the first thing that Paul says to her when she breaks the stereo in the beginning?
What did you do?
Right. Why that? Why that specifically? Like, well, is that the first thing you say to somebody? Like, what did you do? No, bitch, I know what you did. You broke my stereo. But why use that word, those sets of words? It's perfect because literally it's Alicia telling it to herself. What did you do? What did you do to your people, the people you were supposed to lead? What did you do? You killed all your people. That's what you did. It's not just about the stereo. It's the perfect reflection of good intentions. I'm trying to save this man's life. But at the end of the day, you destroyed his very reason of being. You destroyed everything that helped keep him alive. Because he said it in the episode. He's like, this is the only reason why I'm alive. It's like, otherwise there's no purpose in my being.
I think it would have been a lot easier to just find the damn power button than it would have been to grab the thing and pull it off the shelf.
But she was like in a state of disorientation. So she's like, there's no time to find the button. I'm just going to push on the thing.
Most power buttons are in the same spot on things like that. I'm just saying. It wouldn't have taken that much extra brain power, Alicia.
Well, and I love that she was like, what's wrong? Like, why didn't you hear me? It's like, because he can't hear anything.
I was screaming at her, and I'm like, because he's deaf, you dummy. Hello? Who sits and just listens to music that loud? No one. Because she's like, what? You can't hear it. He can feel it. Dumb. You sound like an idiot right now, Alicia. You just need to just shut it.
Well,
I was really disappointed.
All the more reason why she's interesting to me right now. Because I want to know I feel like I'm feeling what she's going through. That's the thing. She's making it clear that she's not in a good place mentally and physically. Physically, I felt that. Did you not feel like how physically fucked she was in terms of disorientation and weakness? I felt weak looking at her.
When was the last time you remember seeing Alicia in a good place?
Good question. That's kind of like what I'm saying. Yeah, right.
Her flashback.
So wouldn't it
weird dream sequence?
So wouldn't it be
a long time?
So wouldn't it betray the character to suddenly switch on and be like a leader and strong and capable? Wouldn't it be like weird to see that? You need to see a resolution to that.
There's got to be a switch at some point because that's what happens. You decide, you make a decision, you decide, and then you do it. It is a switch. It is that easy.
But it's not always in your power. And that's what this episode is showing. It's not in my power.
As far as your thoughts though, like what she's thinking, like I can't do it. No, you get over it. You deal with whatever. I'm sorry, maybe I don't know. You do what needs to be done. You don't sit and throw a pity party.
But then how does that happen? That's the thing, it just doesn't happen.
You put your big girl pants on, you say shit needs to get done, and you do it. But I have no patience for self-pity. Sorry.
No, and I get that. I get that. But my main gripe is like it would be cheap to the Alicia we see that we've been seeing for a while. Like, oh, would she just suddenly turns on? That doesn't make sense. We need questions that need answering.
I did really like that line that she says. I think she was talking to Morgan about how everybody has always had really big ideas around her.
Like strong.
And so she hasn't had the room to have her own. And I thought, you know what? You're right. Like I look back on the show and like she hasn't had room to have her own opinions. I mean, look back on season 3 when she tries to leave because she wants to do things on her own.
Yes,
and then
that's
she
right.
just ends up right back with them. She gets like there was like no room for her.
She gets yay
to
far
go out.
and goes back. Yeah,
there was no room for her to go out and like
forge her own path.
Blaze her own trail. Like that wasn't an option for her. So
or she just wasn't ready too. I mean, that's the thing. You think she's ready in season 3. She makes you feel like she's ready, but then, and this is why I like her, but she's not. That's fine.
But
there's nothing wrong. Like Rachel said, she's a high school student. So like,
yeah, I mean,
I like that she feels that way.
She's young, but on top of that, I think that has a lot to do with the dynamic of being in a family with an addict too.
And a strong mother,
Yeah.
motherly presence, mama
You
bear
can't,
presence.
like, can you leave? Because are you always going to think, is he going to be okay?
And she's frustrated by this. It's like he sucks out all the attention I could have ever gotten. Right? Because this is one of the things you hated the most, Rachel, was like, I don't think she's a good mother. Fucking all the attention on this guy. And poor Alicia. There's a lot to make up for with this character. And so that's kind of what I'm saying. It would be cheap for her to just suddenly go, oh, and I'm like just June and Morgan. I'm just like them. Like, no, you're not, bitch. You're not. And you can't just start becoming a leader just out of thin air. You have questions to answer. And I like that I get to see what that looks like. That's why I like this episode. And you know what? To pay the devil his due, or her, or they, maybe this episode or a different kind of episode could have done that better. I don't know. Could it have been done differently? I don't know. This is how they decided to do it. But I still think it needed to be done. And this is the episode we got. And maybe there's another episode where we see another growth spurt. But there needs to be a growth spurt. There needs to be her honing in on her ability to lead, her honing into at least listening to her own voice and forging, like you said, forging her own path, blazing her own trail.
I do hope then that we don't just time jump over that. I'd like to get an episode with her. And I like this concept of like finally going, you know what? Padre probably isn't real. And
Right.
if it is, isn't it ruined? Like everything else in this world has already been ruined. So I like that she's like, you know what? No, I'm going to be Padre for the people who are also looking for something else. And so I hope that we get to see some of that. I don't want to just skip over that and all of a sudden she's got another group of people. I want to see,
Right.
I don't want to see a tedious build. You could montage some of it and it would be okay.
Right. Or do like a,
'Cause,
I'm this far
I
in.
love a montage.
Right.
But yeah, just something. I want to get something where we get to see her grow as a person and be the leader that we have all just assumed she would always be.
And that's what I always liked. As much as I wasn't all into her in the beginning, the side effect or the consequence of that is like, I kind of like watching this character grow. How often do you get to see, and yes, it's a slow motion thing. I've said this before too. It's slow motion, but I like it. You get to see a life have this arc. You get this steady trying to figure this out. What is it that gets me to live this long? Honey, it's luck. You just told it to Paul a second ago. It's luck that you're here.
Shout out to Paul. Okay, Wawa, you are just a marvel of this day and age. The man learned how to play bagpipes for this.
Yeah, I like
that's
that fact.
awesome.
I'm Talking Dead. Yeah, you mentioned that.
This guy, like, I just want to shout out to him. Just an incredible actor who we have lost too soon from the show because he would have
too
brought
soon.
such a level of like, I don't know, he brought levity to
He's
this.
kind of like a Dale. Do you kind of like, he has that kind of like wizened.
Yeah.
He even
Yeah,
has
I
this.
could see that.
He even has like a form of
could see
Dale
that.
face, right?
I could see that. And I loved that he had this disability, but I loved that it was somehow different. Because while I was watching the show, my mom is here for a visit and she doesn't watch any of this.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm watching it because I tell her, I'm like, I have to. This is like a
This is your
job
job.
this is a job that I pay to do. And I was like, let me write, I'm going to write some notes. So I started watching it and I'm like, man, this is like the third character. There's now more than one character on 2 shows that they've gone with this hearing impaired situation. But I liked that it was different. He had the implant. He was a musician. And so there's all these parallels to Beethoven. I just liked that level of irony. The fact that the actor actually is a deaf musician is just perfection on top of that. I just loved that representation. I thought that was really cool. I know some people were like again, but like I thought it was cool and it hasn't been done on this show. And so I was appreciative of it. But also like that actor, dude.
I just like that he was a good character.
How can you not cast him?
Yeah.
How can you not cast him? He was amazing.
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting that he still had the hearing device on, even though it was no longer functional.
That's something I actually wanted to ask too. Like, what good is it if it's not working anymore, or if it doesn't form a purpose or have a function? Let's say.
I just thought maybe he kept it on as a sense of normalcy, even though it didn't work. It was something that was normal that should be there, even though it wasn't working.
Right.
Because he said he couldn't
Well,
hear, right?
And he's,
Period.
he
Okay.
couldn't, but he is the epitome of hope. So is it not
And
just
then
hope?
And then that makes me wonder, like, okay, so like, did the battery die right when the bombs went off? Like, is that why he couldn't hear anymore? Like, I didn't understand why that second was the moment he couldn't hear anymore.
Well, he heard the, so when the bombs go off, you will hear a very big
There's a sonic
audible
boom.
sound. Yeah, exactly. It'll blow out. There's a vacuum. Depending on how close you are, it'll blow your eardrums out. And also, that means
But he
there's
didn't
also
get the cochlear after the bombs went off. This was obviously pre-apocalypse.
Oh, yeah. He was already losing his hearing pre-apocalypse, by the way.
Well, he had the cochlear, so
Right.
he
had to have surgery.
Right. Exactly. So that's why I was confused why the when the bombs went off, like, how did that affect the device? Why did the device stop?
Well, if the
working
device
for
is
him?
set, if the device is set to a certain like degree of like hearing impairedness,
And
and
it's all
now
the way
he's
up.
Okay.
blown out his eardrum,
Okay.
his ears are just done.
Fair enough.
But on top of that, then it's, even if his ears weren't done, let's say they heal, it's still not set to that level.
Right.
So even if the hearing loss was more profound, the device wasn't set to handle that capacity of hearing loss.
There's also
Okay.
like an EMP that
I
does
like
get
it.
released, by the way, when a bomb goes off.
That's true.
That's kind of what I was getting to.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
wondered if
Yeah.
some nuclear, I don't know.
And I don't know a
things.
ton. I don't know a ton about cochlear implants either. So like, it would be a value for someone who did have one or knew more about it to
My
share.
cousin has 2 profoundly deaf children, so I know this much about cochlear implants. What?
Christopher
I can't
Gonzalez
record.
has asked, have we discussed the young girl in the gas mask yet? Which
Barely.
we hardly did.
Yeah.
I don't have a ton to say about her.
The only thing that we did
What
say
is there to say?
was the Wizard
I
of
thought it was
Weird.
just, yeah, well, I thought it was supposed to be like a representation of like a younger Alicia.
Well, it was also like something we'd said earlier, which was she kind of represents the Wizard of Oz reference with the pigtails and everything like that. If you had to you had to pinpoint who you thought that was. Is it a new person or is it a kind of representation of Alicia? What do you think? So Sharon says, I think it's a young Alicia or young Charlie. Well, what do you guys think?
Yeah, I thought it was young Alicia. And there's that line at the end that she says, if you can help me, I can help you.
Right. Yes.
I think
exactly.
was what it was. Yeah.
Well, she says, I'll
just
be okay. Essentially, if you can help me, maybe I can help you.
Yeah.
So she has to feed her inner child in order to, I don't know.
That's why I say she's real.
Trust yourself and you'll be okay.
Chris says it's young Madison, but he's just kidding.
Young Madison.
It's a spin-off series. It's going to be Young Madison. It's like Young Sheldon, except
They
it's
made
twisted.
a clone of Madison and it's her younger.
Right. And like Mitchell says, I was so confused by the double Alicia thing. It happened, and I was like, what is happening? Is there 3 Alicias now? What's going on? But I think she is real. And maybe she's, this is going to be the cop-out answer, but maybe she is that representation of everybody that's out there waiting for her to help too. I'll be okay if you can help me, maybe I can help you. So if you can help the people out there, maybe they can help you back. So that could be the answer to that question. Because Alicia asks if you are okay first.
Yeah. That line made me think of the take what you need, leave what you don't thing for some reason. We can all help each other. That's what it really reminded me of.
You know what? That's funny. Chris, I like what Chris says here. Didn't her voice kind of sound like the voice from the Madison reveal trailer? It had some sort of distortion to it.
Ooh.
Could be. Or maybe that's the...
Interesting.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? This could be an interesting reveal of a new group that's out there too. The same group that may have Madison, let's say. Staticky voice that's on the radio saying, what's your name? That's not your name anymore. In the Madison teaser trailer. I want to move on to Beethoven though, because there's some very interesting
Excuse
tidbits.
me, it's pronounced Beethoven.
Oh, I thought it was Beethoven.
Oh, I thought it was Beethoven. So anyway, Beethoven's okay. As was said in the episode, this is the 4th and final movement of Symphony Number 9, which was his last symphony ever. What the Ode to Joy is, and what it's supposed to represent, is peace between all peoples. It's the official anthem of Europe. That's what that's supposed to mean, but that's clearly not what's about to happen. Peace between all peoples is not about what's being intended here. Is this kind of like a breadcrumb? Like it's the breadcrumb of things to come that may be hiding in plain sight sort of thing? Like, oh, we're not seeing it for what it really is. We're just seeing it because it's this Paul character is full of hope and it represents a deaf character. But no, maybe it's something we're meant to see later on. That maybe it won't end in war. That maybe something could be worked out.
Or is it a statement on the fact that he had said the arrangement isn't meant to be played that way?
Well, what do you mean by that?
Because that's what he says. That's what he tells Rowan. So Rowan never gets to play the arrangement that she makes for the bagpipe of Ode to Joy. Because when she makes that arrangement, he's frustrated with the fact that he's losing his hearing. And so he takes it out on his wife, as like all of us kind of do that, take it out on our spouses thing. She does not get to do it because he says that's not the right way to play that.
Right. That's not how it's meant to be played. Right.
And so I kind of like then that he's playing it at the end. One, it's like to commemorate her and her legacy, as a musician and a person, as the person that he loved. But also, if it's meant to be about peace between all peoples, but it's being played the wrong way.
Obviously war. That's what you mean.
Yeah. Like it's the opposite then,
Huh.
Who am I right now? Am I like Dave? Why am I like, what is happening? What is that? Did we Freaky Friday? What is going on?
Chris, Rip Rowan, the best character we never knew. That's the thing. I kind of like the beauty in that, like the idea that I think a lot of us feel this way sometimes when we face like a hardship. It's like, I just kind of want things to go back to the way they were. And yet, like, what is The Walking Dead if not, you can't go back? This is not how that works. You have to be the person that you're meant to be now that things have happened. Paul's getting his finally stepping into the universe. And what does he do? He helps somebody else move further into that universe. There's something cool about that. And the moment he is playing the bagpipes, he's acknowledging that fact that like, it may not be meant to be played this way, but maybe I'm meant to play it this way now. Accept the help, honestly, is what he was trying to express to Alicia. Somebody's trying to help you. Take the help. This is your life now. I'm just trying to help you. I'm trying to give you an ode to joy, like ironically lost on him. Trying to give you joy in this world that you're living in now with barely any sound. I'm helping you hear the thing that you can't hear. You think you're Beethoven? You're not Beethoven. You can't smash the keys and hope that something nice is going to come out of it. This is your life now. So I'm just trying to help you live in that world. Again, he laments the fact that could have been like the thing he could have heard of his wife before she died. And true to form, like by the end of this episode, that is what he's hearing before his life is over, is the thing that she was trying to give him, joy, by the end of it. I think that's kind of beautiful. And if you look really closely, while he's playing the bagpipes, and obviously he's crying not just because he's crying because I hear it. Maybe I hear it. I feel it. And I think I like that. He doesn't know Arno is behind him. He doesn't know he knows what's about to happen. He doesn't know when it's going to happen. He doesn't see him. But there's that little cutaway when you see Alicia running. You can actually see him fall in the window. It's like on my third watch, I'm like, oh my God, you actually get to see him fall.
I won't lie, I teared up. It's like a character that I didn't think I was going to love so much. And so I was just like, no, not precious, sweet angel baby Paul.
Angel baby. Charity says, I highly recommend Immortal Beloved about Beethoven or Beethoven. Or how did you say it, Bridget? How did you say it right?
I said Beethoven.
Beethoven?
But the Beethoven is way better.
I like Beethoven.
Beethoven.
Oh yeah, so there's another little factoid about Beethoven that I'm gonna say it like that. Because by the end of his career, he was struggling between balancing his creative independence. His creative independence with his financial stability. Obviously, the composers and painters, all those people from that time, they weren't wealthy. They were struggling, balancing the creative independence of composing and always being on the hook for the next gig, And these people don't compose things, generally speaking, and make it really big. But then balancing also like his natural, a person's natural impulses against higher ideals too. Doing what comes natural and visceral and real against like, thinking in greater terms like fraternity, love of oneself, forgiveness, higher ideals like free speech and free expression and things like that. So like balancing things like that against like what we can do with power, let's say, ugly things. What is that Beethoven, if not like the Walking Dead universe? Like we're always trying to navigate between what is practical, what is convenient, what is comfortable versus higher ideals. Like what can I do for you? How can I help you? What can we do together to make something better? How can we thrive in this apocalypse together? So like that's a cool little factoid about Beethoven as well. Oh, did you catch this little detail? Obviously, Paul gets shot in the stomach as he's holding his bagpipes. Did you catch the brief flicker of how he patches the bagpipes? Because there's a hole in the bagpipes.
I did not. I saw it's like laying near the walker.
The walker that's on the floor in the shot as he's playing the bagpipes, right? If you look really closely, there's fresh blood streaming down from the walker's face. He patched the hole in the bagpipes with the walker's skin off his face. They duct taped it together. It's a cool detail you would have missed if you didn't really look closely.
Well, because aren't bagpipes made from like
the bladders of
right? Yeah.
So
that makes sense.
Isn't that cool?
I like that. Yeah, it is cool.
good.
Very implied. I know Rachel would like that. I mentioned it. There you go.
Nice.
But just like there are big voices always trying to not compete for leadership, let's say, necessarily. Like, obviously, leadership is often like traded hands, or everybody has something to say or has an idea. And sometimes people do butt heads, like June and Morgan had that one instance that Charity spun into a yarn, which created a nuclear reaction of its own, because I don't agree. But Alicia's had a bunch of people in the series cheer her on as well. Now that's like, think guys like Ed Gain that show up in season 6. Whereas like, just forget what you're looking for. You're never going to find it. You're going to keep trying to build a safe space. It's not going to work out the way it is, because you're going backwards, just like I did, to try to recreate the circumstances to which to save everybody. That's not how you're going to do it. Just like Ed Gain, there's Paul. Paul's telling her, listen to your own voice, listen to yourself. Don't try to retread the steps of the past. Concentrate on your own voice. Maybe this is something that you've been trying to do all along, but you probably couldn't hear it until you were sick and having these fever dreams. 2 men that just waft into her life and waft out. But I like that there's a return for that too. Like, okay, you're doing this wrong again. You're doing this wrong again. Listen to yourself. Don't listen to me. Don't listen to me. So Sharon says he was shot in the same place Ed was impaled. Also, Rick was shot too. Okay, Rick was shot in the belly one too many times. Rebars, all that stuff. That poor fucking guy. Chris says Alicia needs to take her own advice from season 3 and not try to build her own place. Yeah, no place is safe. We kill for it and we die for it. Yeah, I mean that's kind of what they're saying to her too. Like,
isn't that interesting? Because we're also dealing with that in The Walking Dead.
Yeah, exactly.
Is Hilltop worth it?
Right.
Or are the people what you should be fighting for?
Which is what Maggie finally figures out.
There is no safe place. So it's
all you can do is take care of your people. Period. Yeah. So, which answers like a question that we've constantly asked on the show: is there a safe place? No, there's no safe place. But you have to accept that. So maybe Padre's in a place, kind of like what Alicia's alluding to. Maybe Padre's just a movement. Let's say how that movement happens, I don't know. So, and that leads me to another thing: a crazy brain thought. That, because sometimes we have to talk about crazy brain thoughts, like that don't make any sense. But like a thought occurred to me when it came to the senator, right? Because we don't want to think that Alicia did all this for nothing. The part of us is kind of like, what the? No, I think all of us has expressed this at one time or another. But like, what are you doing following a walker? What the? Are you stupid? Are you just dumb? Or are you crazy?
Oh, crazy.
Right.
Yeah.
But then I thought to myself, what if like the senator has something in him that he transmitted to her that wasn't the virus, but was something else? Maybe
like an STD.
But like
what?
But like something that's making her react. What if the senator wasn't meant to be followed, but was meant to be like there's something in his blood that has some sort of secret? Again, I told you it's crazy brain thoughts. Like, but what if there's something in his blood or something in him that
Zabies.
What are zabies? Rabies, but zombies.
Rabies.
That's the virus. But like, can you tell me you didn't have a crazy brain thought like this? Like, but what if she's bit with something that's different than the virus?
No, I don't like it.
Why not? Because it is complicated.
I don't like it because I don't want to ever know where it came from. I don't ever want it to.
No, this is something different. Not the virus. I'm talking about like nanites
just what Alicia's dealing
and
with.
Sci-fi shit. Yeah, exactly. I'm just talking about sci-fi shit.
No.
Why not?
No.
I think she just needs to sit her ass down, take a really long nap, and
take a Motrin, like a long nap.
Go to sleep.
Plenty of fluids.
Weekend.
Like Sharon said earlier, and not jokingly, not hashtag zonorrhea. Like it could be malaria. It could be malaria. It could be something that needs treatment. Do you know what I mean? That if left untreated could kill her or could be a constant thing that gets her sick. Like things that I was reading up on was like latent symptoms of radiation poisoning, like you said in the beginning. I don't even know if this even made it in a recording, but you said this could be something from season 5. We never really addressed the fact that, the blood gets in her mouth and eyes and face and nothing happened. And even if what Tom, Celtic TSO on all the socials said, like, nothing would happen. You've got to get it kind of from the source, or it could be that latent symptoms of radiation poisoning. You should worry if she stops feeling symptoms, because that's when your immune system shuts down. I just read that before we got on. Things like malaria, where like, okay, you can have this constantly unless you finally treat it, which is like fevers, chills, disorientation, hallucinations, could be something like that. So
great. So she's just gonna have a fever forever now. Great.
But one day she'll find June, and June will know how to fix her. 710. Yikes. We can't talk about that yet, though. I think Ian Andrew is kind of trying to steer clear from season 5 nowadays. No, I actually don't think so, Chris. I think these episodes, we were saying this earlier, I think these episodes are an answer to season 5/season 6, let's say.
Maybe a correction. Maybe not even, maybe some course correcting.
Yeah, if you want to be uncharitable, course correction. But I'm of the feeling, no, if you listen to 182, we had a conversation with Sarah Beth Pollock, and even then we were saying how now that season 7 is coming around, it looks like this was the plan all along. That there was supposed to be a long arc where this sort of stuff wasn't happening, that they're not making this stuff up along the way. Like they knew they would be helming these episodes for a very long time, and they had this built up from the very beginning. That this was the roadmap. I don't know if they have the exact specifics, because obviously Madison's coming back, and for sure they figured out that she was not going to be coming back. And so if there's any course correction, it's that Madison's coming back. That's the course correction, period. So, which I'm not mad at, but does make things interesting if they are changing the game plan.
I am.
No, I like season 5 too, Sharon.
I wasn't. Yeah, I was just being a dick, I guess.
No, you can say you didn't like it too. That's fine. We accept.
Well, no, I didn't. I don't dislike anything. It was just.
But it was the weaker of all the seasons.
I love everything. I love everything Walking Dead, and I'll just love
die
it.
Loving it. Arno's left hand is shot just like Alicia's left arm. So a little parallel too. He says in the episode, if I don't get it treated soon, I'll die. So also does sound a little whiny. I wanted to also bring up something that I don't know if I brought up on the stream before or in an episode, but Sharon actually pulled out a really cool parallel between Arno on Fear the Walking Dead and Arlo from Breaking Bad. It's played by the same actor.
It was Better Call Saul.
Oh, Better Call Saul. I keep saying that. Better Call Saul. Thank you. Yeah. And somebody said that the producer for this, was it the director for this episode, was the same as either Breaking Bad or Better Call Saul? Somebody was the same on Talking Dead.
Not sure about that.
Oh, that I was not aware of.
I feel like somebody had said that, or producer. But I just wanted to see if there was a similarity between the two characters, Arno and Arlo.
Arlo is like a lookout kind of person,
He's the money man.
Yeah, so he takes the money and he signals to the person who's up in the window, like how much they bought. And then the person up in the window, mouse, funnels it through like a drain pipe.
Gotcha.
And then they pick it up in the alley and then they leave. So kind of a dirtbag. So
Gotcha.
There's your parallel.
It's a funny story. I was called Arno because I did that in Better Call Saul a long time ago. Low-level drug dealer. Gotcha.
It's Arlo's twin brother. We finally got another set of twins.
No, it's the same guy. Same guy. He just changed his name slightly. It's a funny story though. Victor hangs up on him. He's like, "Fuck."
He's getting away from the drugs, so he had to change the letter.
I mean, he's ambitious, you know. He's like, "Fuck this. Arlo did not work out for me. Arno.
No one will know me.
Yeah.
I go by this name now.
Let's just change our fate by changing
in the
our
zombie
name."
apocalypse, I'm really concerned about his street cred.
So let me ask you something about Alicia's decision to be Padre and that whole conversation with Morgan. What I know that you can have, someone might have criticisms, but I felt like that was we've had moments like this between Morgan and Alicia before, where like Alicia's questioning Morgan's leadership and Morgan's style of leadership in season 5. Talk about irony. We're at the end of an episode, and now she's questioning herself and or not questioning herself, but she's deciding for herself how to go through this. And Morgan's kind of like saying, yeah, almost to say like, I've been waiting for you to do this. I've been waiting for you to step up and take the mantle. What did you think about that moment?
I was irritated because I was still hoping Padre was an actual place or thing or something. I've invested way too much energy in Padre for them to be like, well, just kidding.
But what if it is a place?
That would be great. I would love that. I would love for something to actually happen with Padre besides Alicia being like, I'm Padre.
I think it'd be a cool way to tie it together with like maybe movies later on, or like a different story arc that like Padre ends up being an actual thing, and like maybe they find more documents or whatever.
What if the people that are holding Madison are like Padre, let's say, a cadre of Padre?
Cool. At this point, I'd be happy with anything to just give up on Padre. That's annoying to me. I was annoyed.
I'll admit that is a little bit annoying to me too. I mean, think of all the people that were banking their hopes on Padre too.
Yeah. Even if they find it and it's like destroyed, like, oh well, didn't work out for these people.
That their Padre didn't work out.
Yeah. At least it's like answers. It's something.
So Chris asked a really good question, actually. So was it Alicia making the calls over the radio that people were hearing talking about Padre? I don't think so.
Oh, like Mickey, like how Mickey heard stuff.
Yeah. Remember what we said about Mickey before at the season finale, or to the mid-season finale? Like she heard that Alicia was following a walker, and she's like, I'm out. That's it.
I'm out.
I'm not on the show anymore. I'm not following Crazy Pants to our doom.
One-handed crazy girl following a paint-covered walker.
Or whatever that was, right?
We're live, Rachel. Don't say things.
Wait, you're saying the walker with white face? Is that what you're going to say?
Nope. Actually, wasn't even that bad.
Oh, like semen. Gotcha.
Yeah. I was going to say cum-covered walker.
Whatever. I would have kept that in. Are you kidding me? The woman from episode. Yes, exactly,
crazy.
Chris. Yeah. So, I don't think that was Alicia, personally. But then who was it? And what was it?
At that time, she would have been still down in Teddy's bunker, or were they dealing with the fallout of the bunker at that time?
It's clear that some of the people that Victor dispatched in the first episode were some of the followers from the bunker, because Will says as much. Oh, those were the people from down there, from the bunker. Mm-hmm. So,
but we don't know if Mickey had already escaped at that point. She may have been out in the world somewhere.
That's a good point. Yeah, there's that nebulous point within like the 3 months that we skipped. So who knows?
Oh yeah, because then we meet Will, and that was a significant time jump.
Yeah, exactly.
More than a few weeks.
It's like an open secret, whatever this Padre is. And then there's also the tapestry, right? We have to address the tapestry. And the tapestry was of Alicia following a walker. We didn't understand it. It was an infinity symbol, etc. Padre. So it could well have been, because they had a transmitter, it could well have been that they were the ones putting Padre out into the air. So we just solved that issue. And thanks to Chris, by the way. And I'll credit him by chatting up with him on Reddit. And that's another thought that actually occurred to me, that like she not only led those people to their deaths. So she's feeling that guilt. She feels like she let her people down when she got caught by Teddy. She wanted to get back to her people. She was frustrated. But then I thought this really dumb thing, maybe even the fact that she didn't even live up to what Teddy thought she could be, was also a little bit like, not only could I not get back to my friends, not only did I kill all of Teddy's people, but there's like, even though I thought Teddy was a fucking asshole and totally wrong, the fact that maybe I could have been the thing he thought I was and I'm not is just like a punch in the face. Like the dumbest critique thing of myself.
No, I think if I were Alicia right now, I would not be trying so hard to be a leader. Like I'd be like, my track record's not so great, so I'm gonna take a back seat and let someone else like tell me what to do. Like I'm a fighter, I can fight, I can do that, I can kill walkers. She's good at that.
I can follow, but I can't lead.
Yeah, so sit back and take instruction. Like she doesn't need to be a leader. You don't have to lead. You can just support your group. Let someone else make the decisions.
And that's what I like. I like that you said that, because that's the natural response, is to kind of go backwards, right? To kind of retreat into what works. But she doesn't do that. And you could critique that, obviously, and you should. But this is what makes her extraordinary in my book. Now I'm starting to pay attention even more. Like I've always been paying attention. I've always been trying to see this progression, this inch by inch progression, because nothing works when you radically change. Nothing works when you radically shift in your character. I don't believe you. I don't believe you. That's not how life works. Life doesn't work by flipping a switch and all of a sudden everything is okay. But like when you have this shift in character and then you're trying to do something as a result of that shift, that's when I'm paying attention. Like when you do the thing that normally other people wouldn't do, retreat as a result of taking many hits. Now I'm paying attention. It's like Rocky. Was it Rocky Balboa? Not the fourth Rocky movie, but I think it was the sixth, where Milo Ventimiglia is on there. Do you remember Milo Ventimiglia? From
I didn't know he.
From Heroes.
He was on in those movies.
From Gilmore Girls, excuse me.
Gilmore Girls, Heroes, and This Is Us. Yeah, let's cover all the bases. Everybody's so insulted that I said Heroes. You loved Heroes when it first came out.
I did when it first came out. But not much beyond that.
I actually loved it years and years and years later. I binged it when the whole series was done.
And I said this to my wife the other day. First of all, the first Rocky movie is art house. It is not at all what I expected it to be. Watching it as an adult. As a child, you're like, oh, boxing movie, cool. I get to see a hero rise. But as an adult, it's so much more artistic than I really had the brain for. But then I watched Rocky Balboa. And this is him like in his latter years. He's not all that great, but he's trying to do whatever he can. He's walking around the world as this champion fighter. And he has this conversation with his son. And it is the most memorable line in the whole movie. And he says, you don't fall. You don't take the hits and fall. A man is judged by how many hits he can take and keep going. You got to watch just that clip. It is emotionally stirring. But in the greater context of the movie, it's even better. And so when I see Alicia taking the hits and deciding, I'm not giving up on myself. If I gave up on myself, they're right about me, or I'm right about how disappointing I am. And so I like that.
Do you think by not taking a leadership role, she would not be moving forward? I think she can move forward and pick herself up and just take on a different role. She just doesn't have to be the leader. She doesn't have to be the one making the decisions. Like, she has skills, utilize those. I don't understand why she's putting all this pressure on herself to be the leader. Why do you think your choices are better than anybody else's? We've seen Morgan make bad choices. We've seen a lot of characters make bad choices. So she's not alone in that. So
I mean, everybody's made bad choices. Yes, yeah, everybody, Sharon.
She's acting like, she's acting a little bit like Morgan, like it's all on her. Oh my God. Like, right. I have to fix the apocalypse. Like, calm down. No, you don't.
Right. No, and I can accept that.
Also, I love Alicia.
I know. Wow, did we switch roles from the beginning of?
No.
Did you guys Freaky Friday?
I just have to like remind everyone that I actually really do love Alicia
every now and again. Yeah,
yeah.
But I think this is why I like it. Now I'm paying attention because I feel like you're earning those stripes for me. However this thing goes in the future, we're never gonna know. They could well fuck with us again, and I don't know, and we'll be frustrated. And this is the part where you come in and say, like, okay, they have a plan. I have to believe that what they're trying to do is something pretty awesome, hoping. But
I do trust the writers to get us where we need to go. Yes, I get frustrated sometimes when I personally don't feel like it's moving as quickly as I want it to. But then I remind myself everything they do in this universe is for a reason. And maybe they want us feeling frustrated right now. Maybe the point is to make some people upset, and well done. Very well done.
Well, not necessarily upset, but frustrated.
Frustrated,
this is frustrating.
Finally getting Madison back, so here's your FU before that.
I mean, bringing her back is enough of an FU for me.
Just like Alicia has her St. Christopher medallion at the end of it, because then she gets it from Will at the end, Walker Will at the end. Let's find our way. Let's use the patron saint of lost causes to find our way. The patron saint of travelers. I know. But I hope she does find her way. And I like that we're getting a little bit of payoff and questions answered. We can't automatically flip a switch, and change is hard, just like with everybody else. That's what I like. And if it leads us somewhere, how awesome is that payoff? That's what I'm looking for. And I think the fact that we don't get answers now means that, okay, we've got 7 episodes to tell that tale. Exactly. So if you like what you heard, for now, head over. I haven't done anything with it yet. Head over to ratethispodcast.com/squawking dead. We did get a rating recently, by the way, so that's really good. I'll be posting about that hopefully tomorrow. Exactly, 1 rating. But hey, use it as a springboard to tell us what you liked, what you didn't like about this episode. I'm hoping that this episode is actually really good after I'm done hacking and slashing away at it.
Ooh, I feel so bad for you.
But please
So
tell
bad.
us after every episode. And if you really enjoy what we're doing or what we're trying to do with every episode, probably even more so if it doesn't turn out the way I intended it to be or the way you thought it could be, please consider following us on ko-fi.com/squawkingdead and just follow us. You don't have to buy us a coffee, although if you did, it would send an even bigger signal. Or you don't have to join a membership tier for just as little as $1 a month. You just have to follow us. And when you decide to jump in on something, it'll let us know that you're paying attention, that we're worth doing this thing that we do. And hey, a little money never hurt anybody. We can always use it. And you will get perks for when you do join a membership tier. Rest assured, for as little as $1, you get to join our Discord and a whole bunch of other things. So, especially at the base level. With that, everybody, I'm your host, David Cameo, and I was joined by Cosmom09, the big return of Alicia Cosmomom09 Clark.
Aw, me and Alicia came back the same episode.
Exactly. And Survivors tier member Bridget, ex-Prophecy Girl on Twitter, and ain't my first rodeo on Instagram. Take care, everybody. We'll see you in the next one. And wish me the best of luck. Yeah. Take care, everybody. We'll see you soon. And that's a wrap on Instagram.
Bye.
Bye.